Hi, I'm Olivia, and today I'll be sharing my research study on why students turn to TikTok. This is a uses and gratifications analysis of news and entertainment consumption. This study explores not just how college students use TikTok, but why specifically, whether their motivations like information seeking, entertainment, social connection, and identity expression influence how students see TikTok as a news source. So, as we know, we're all familiar, I'm sure, with the platform, social media platform TikTok. It's really grown in the past 5 years, becoming increasingly influential for young adults. It's no longer just a place for trends and humor. It's actually becoming a place where students can find real information and oftentimes even breaking news. So, as this type of short form video content tends to grow in popularity, it kind of starts to replace these traditional news outlets, right? So, especially for students, but what this comes with is concerns about misinformation, credibility, and how our personalized algorithm really shapes what we see as users. So, this led me to two main research questions. The first one being that among college students, which needs information, entertainment, social connection, or identity predict using TikTok as a primary source for news and entertainment? And then my follow up is that how is the frequency of using TikTok for news related to students' trust in the content that they see? These questions are help connect the uses and gratifications theory with real patterns of TikTok behavior. So, in existing research, it can give us important context for my questions. A lot of studies show that students frequently encounter news on TikTok on accident without seeking it out. For example, there's a study that I found from 2024 that finds women often come across medical advice by accident, medical advice on their personal health, which this can definitely raise concerns about misinformation credibility because something as important as your personal health care is not to just be taken, it's not something to be taken lightly. So other studies relate to this and highlight TikTok's role in entertainment. But where research becomes unclear is understanding why some students trust the platform and why others don't. Uh, so overall, this gap in research is the reason for my study. It's to understand what these specific motivations and how it takes us to our trust in actual news on TikTok. So, to answer my questions, I surveyed 30 UCF students using convenience sampling. So, in this case, I sent the link to my Google Form survey through Canvas to my classmates in this class and my other classes, and a couple student group chats. Uh, my link took participants to an 18-question Google Form survey that was designed to measure their TikTok usage frequency, their motivations for using it, trust in the news content that they see on there, perceived personalization on their For You page, and just of course, basic demographic information. A lot of these were multiple choice or one Likert 1 through 5 scales, or some of them were fill in the blank. And then these were coded numerically, so I could see the correlations and motivations in between motivations and usage behavior. So for my results, as far as the descriptive patterns that I found, entertainment was the strongest overall motivation, which you'll see on the next chart, with scoring a 4.2 out of 5, aligning with the belief that TikTok is an entertainment app, which it is. What I found super interesting was that the one third of participants reported using TikTok often or always to stay informed, showing that the platform does serve as the news function for many students. But however, across the sample, participants also reported that their overall trust in TikTok news is low, scoring only a 2.8 out of 5, which again we'll see on the next slide. But another area that was high was the perceived personalization of TikTok's algorithm. Students strongly agreed that their For You page was tailored to their interests, that's the point of a For You page, right? It caters to you. As far as the correlation results go, one of the most interesting findings came from inferential analysis. I found that there was a moderate positive correlation between how often students use TikTok for news and how much they trust the news on the app. Meaning students who consume news on more frequently on TikTok tend to trust it more. This could be because of repeated exposure. When students consistently see personalized content, it feels more credible, even if it's not. So this is going to be the motivation chart here. It shows each theme and then what the score was. So obviously our higher areas are going to be entertainment and the personalization. Those are both scored really high, right? So people, I think that's why TikTok's so popular, because it is so personalized to you and your interests. So students they also ranked identity and self-expression pretty high, scoring a 3.8, showing that TikTok is a place where many students feel comfortable expressing themselves. And then as for the lower scores, trust and credibility, like I mentioned earlier, had a low score at 2.63, reinforcing that although students use TikTok a lot, they do remain cautious about believing a lot of the content they come across. This chart highlights the fact that while students enjoy the personalized entertainment TikTok provides, they do not fully trust it as a reliable news source. So then this chart is showing the frequency of news use on TikTok. You can see here that the highest counts fall under often and always, with about 7 or 8 students in each category, meaning this is a significant portion of the sample that's regularly encountering news on TikTok, even if that's not their primary purpose. And then occasionally had one of the smallest counts with only 3 students. This distribution can suggest that TikTok plays a meaningful role for many students, especially those in the often or sometimes categories, even though not all students see it as a primary news source. As for implications, I think there's 3 major implications here. First, that TikTok is not just an entertainment platform. It influences how students encounter and interpret news. Second, the high level of personalization that I've discussed a lot today may indirectly boost their trust. And then third, motivations such as identity expression, amusement, and personalization help explain why TikTok is meaningful in ways traditional news sources are not. TikTok satisfies these emotional and social needs. As for future research, I think a lot of research can be done to, one, expanding the sample size. Obviously, I just did UCF students, only 30 at that. So maybe doing like a nationwide study across universities would give you a better, actual idea into why they're using TikTok for news and entertainment. And then I would also, I think, comparing TikTok as a platform compared to like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, just other short form video content, would be really interesting to see how they interpret news on those platforms compared to TikTok. I think that would be a really good use of research. So I think my study goes to show that TikTok serves multiple roles for college students. It's major entertainment source, a place for self-expression, and for many a news source, whether intentional or by accident. And even though trust is low in news, students who use TikTok more frequently tend to trust it more, highlighting the powerful relationship between personalization, engagement, and credibility. Thank you.